Welcome to The Commerce Order, powered by Kibo, the podcast that brings you closer to the future of commerce. Each episode, we sit down with industry leaders, innovators, and Kibo experts to unpack the latest trends, tackle the toughest challenges, and reveal the strategies shaping retail, e-commerce, and order management. Join us as we explore how technology, culture, and consumer behavior intersect to redefine the shopping experience. I'm your host, Natalia Pavich, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Kibo Commerce, and here is the episode. Just a quick note for our listeners. The opinions of the guests are their own and do not reflect the corporation where they work. Jayme Reynolds is the Director of AI and Commerce Partnerships at Grid Dynamics. Before tackling partnerships, he focused on IT project management and omnichannel strategy as a business analyst and product owner. His experience in store operations, ERP, e-commerce, order management, fulfillment allocations, replenishment, inventory strategy, and vendor selection. His career started as an area manager leading the Northeast division of a small box specialty retailer, driving exponential growth. Jayme is currently focused on helping enterprises transition from monolith to Mac composability. We discussed the evolving expectations of B2B customers, the need for B2B companies to adopt order management, and the impact of AI on the future of work and commerce. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Hello. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have you today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I'm Jayme Reynolds with Grid Dynamics. I am the Director of AI and Commerce Partnerships officially. Unofficially, for fun at conferences, I often make my title Chief Dot Connector, which applies to what I do every day in connecting our partnerships, but also in what I've done in my past in helping customers solve their problems.
I was promising myself that I wouldn't dig into that, but I'm actually dying to. Dot Connector. Do you actually put that on your lanyard?
I do.
Wow. Did you get like a lot of comments? Did people like pick up on that and chat you up because of it?
A lot of times I do, yes. People will ask me, what does a Chief Dot Connector do? For the old folks, I'll make reference to the Chief Yahoo and say it sounds a lot better than Chief Yahoo, which just was a silly title. But it does get it. And when I'm at a conference and doing booth duty and clients come and sit down, they ask me, what does it mean? And so, yes, it's fun for me as a conversation starter. And it makes sense for us in the partner community because a lot of what we do is help each other understand, what activity do I have an account? What relationships do I have an account? What problems are we trying to solve for? How can I bring Kibo in to solve those problems? And at the same time, I do the same thing for the client side. Understand what are their pain points? What do they want to solve over the next 6, 12, 18 months? And how do we make the right recommendation for them to solve the challenges, whether it's on the business side or the technology side?
I mean, I love that because I know how important networking is. And I think it's cool to connect people of different disciplines or try to connect dots and say, actually, you need to talk to this person or that person. You know what I mean? Because I think it's so easy to get bogged down into like expertise and achievements and going online and finding the answer. But like oftentimes the best solutions, the best brainstorm happen in conversations just when you're sitting down with very smart people like this conversation in particular, right?
Absolutely. And you never know when you might need somebody, right? So even if I can't do something directly for my client today, if I know somebody who can solve it outside of my direct responsibility, I'm happy to make that connection. For us crunchy folks out there, we call it karma. And I try to always put the good karma out so that when I need it, it comes back to me.
I love that. Now, your daughter wants to be a dolphin worker. So I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Can you explain what that is?
She has shared with us that she wants to be a dolphin worker when she gets older. She's 8 today. And as she's learned over the last 2 weeks, what they actually call that is a marine zoologist.
Oh, okay.
So
Good. Okay.
we aren't far from where Winter the dolphin grew up, for those that are familiar with the movie, The Dolphin Tale. So she loves that movie, and we've had her in camp over here at Clearwater Marine Aquarium, learning all about sea life and dolphins. What was new to me is this term marine zoologist, because I've always heard of marine biologist. So I guess the difference is when you work at an aquarium, you're a zoologist. In the same way, if you're a veterinarian or a biologist that works at a zoo, you're a zoologist. As opposed to a marine biologist who's working with them out in the water, out in their natural habitat.
That's so fascinating. I can see how you can get hooked on that, especially being in Florida, having all the access to all of the courses and resources that you do there. That's really cool. Now I'm gonna pivot completely 180.
We can
I had
become e-commerce zoologists.
There you go. I have no good segue, so you have to save me here. But so you work for Grid Dynamics, and besides being a connector and nurturing young minds to pursue their passions, what do you do at Grid Dynamics, or more a better question would be, what does Grid Dynamics do?
Yeah, so Grid Dynamics is an engineering company first and foremost, and I refer to it what I think is common lexicon as a systems integrator. The difference, I believe, is we are very technically savvy,
Hmm.
arguably cutting edge, leading edge for
Hmm.
a lot of our larger clients. We operate almost exclusively, if we apply the Pareto rule, 80% of the work that we're doing is directly with the IT organization. The other 20% is working with the business side of the house.
Hmm.
So if a complex problem comes up within the IT organization, they say the business wants to solve X. We're not really sure how to do that. Grid Dynamics, can you come in and help us assess what are the right technologies to help us assess that? And historically, Grid Dynamics did that in a custom build approach going back to 2006 because the leadership at that time didn't feel that a lot of the solutions out there were ready for prime time. And since about 2020, 2021, they really started investing into the independent uh, services companies or service vendors, ISVs, technology stacks, whatever you want to call it, right? So, uh, solution partners that are solving the problems, and we've really embraced that so that we can deliver value faster to our clients.
And a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, it's interesting that AI is in your title. I imagine that's sort of mandatory now, because you kind of can't do really anything without AI in our business. Um, Now, we talked a lot in our earlier conversations about the challenges the B2B industry specifically is facing. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the things that's coming up more and more? I imagine in Great Dynamics. What are some of the things that B2B companies are looking at and thinking about when they're considering e-commerce, commerce, and OMS tech stacks?
I've been in IT consulting for 15 years and been in traditional retail going back to 1999. And retail has spearheaded much of technology innovation. B2B now, having had an entire generation grow up buying and shopping through e commerce, now expects to have that same experience for being able to go online. It used to be just research, but now it's being able to buy it, receive it in bulk, delivered to the right place at the right time. And in B2B, they even have on the delivery side expectations around being able to change an order. uh, you know, I think a few of us have accidentally placed an order and reached out to the company, and they've said, oh, I'm sorry, we've already shipped that order, we can't change it, you'll have to return it. um, B2B may place an order or several orders for the same item over the course of 12 months. And depending on their demand forecast as the year progresses, they may need to change that order, increase it, decrease it, reroute it. Yeah, I've done work in the roofing industry where they need to make sure that the asphalt shingles arrive in line with the day that the roofers are supposed to be there. It's
Hmm.
not just as simple as Amazon showing up and you opening your door and bringing the package inside. So, a lot of interesting, complex, unique solutions there in the B2B world.
That's a good point. It sounds a lot more complicated. And what's funny is when I talk to some B2B clients, they seem to have a greater amount of business that actually occurs via digital transactions. And yet, some of them are hesitant to classify them as commerce. Talk to me about, obviously retail kind of ushered in this revolution and kind of drove innovation. But it seems to me like B2B stands to benefit more from this new technology. What's the deal? What's the hesitation with the industry taking up new OMSs and new commerce, etc.?
I think it's the networking effect. We, talked about networking earlier, but
Yeah.
it's really people. And what has driven sales throughout history in the B2B world is that personal interaction.
Yeah.
And I think people are holding on to that. You have, you know, older people who have always done it in a certain way.
Yeah.
And now that their children, and in some cases their grandchildren, are now taking over the reins of accelerating the sales through the business. And if we define commerce as sales for a business, it doesn't matter the channel of transaction. Commerce is the same thing, right? E-commerce
Hmm.
is a specific channel. EDI is a specific channel. Telephone sales is a specific channel. All of those have to be fulfilled through some sort of fulfillment methodology. Historically, it may have been highly customizing an ERP in order to get that done. And in my work in the ERP space, that wasn't the best way to do it given today's technology because of the heavy customization. And what is an ERP supposed to do?
Right.
It's really a financial system of record. It's really supposed to help with the financial transactions. And because the order would come into that ERP and then the inventory would get pushed out, it became an OMS. But today's world, an OMS doesn't just manage the orders, right? You're not just shipping it from the manufacturing location to the point of receiving, or the fulfillment center to the point of business. You're also managing the inventory, which was
Hmm.
an old functionality of a quote unquote ERP, right? So, inventory management system is now part of it. And understanding inventory real time is something that's very important, both in the direct to consumer channel, but the B2B space.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because you're right. You have this like sort of world where people are used to calling each other up, making a deal over the phone, right? Making a handshake um approval process, and then you have this movement towards like, well, we need to digitize something. And why don't we start with the ERP, because that seems where all of our information is, and so they've bolted on these portals. But it's funny when we think about portals, we don't think about fast and performant e-commerce sites the way that we do in retail. So there's like this kind of discrepancy between how a portal is, how it's displayed, how it performs, and how a modern B2C site is. Now, people still don't like to use the word order management for B2B purposes. They may not know why they should use it. But it's interesting how we've introduced a new layer to your point, is pull out managing an order, to pull out managing inventory into an order management system and be able to have a system dedicated to this specific functionality. Can you tell me a little bit more about the need that B2B companies quite frankly have for order management systems?
Yeah, I think the largest companies in the world have become successful by being customer centric
Yeah.
and understanding the needs of the customer. That shouldn't be specific to a direct to consumer channel or a retail channel, anything of that nature. So think about the buyer experience that you want to provide to your customers if you're in the B2B space, right? So if the old way of doing it, or even the way you're doing it today, was you have a field agent, does the handshake, completes the order. The guy needs the buyer needs 15,000 units of X, and they expect it in 30 days. And now the order gets faxed in, maybe scanned and emailed in, um, and you realize, oh, we can only deliver 5,000 units. Now the seller has to call back and say, yeah, we know we promised you 15,000, but we can only get you 5,000. Can you take the next 10,000 over the course of 60 to 90 days? And that might leave you with an angry customer, and he might cancel 100% of the order and go source it from somebody else. And if you think about the way this year 2025 has worked out, there's been a lot of supply chain fluctuations due to uh, forecasted tariffs. And if you can't have that flexibility that your demand forecasting tools and your inventory management system to be able to accurately look at where can you change your sourcing methods and your delivery methods, minimize your shipping costs, all the things that you need to do in running a business. It doesn't matter what type of business you're going to end up with cost overruns, shrinking margin, lower ROI. Worst of all, angry customers that you've chased to a competitor.
Yeah, that's so interesting because you brought up a lot of unique aspects of B2B which don't get really considered in B2C, like the large SKU count, the idea of this needs to come at my house at a certain time for installation. I can't have the shingles delivered 3 weeks ahead and have them just sit outside and get where am I going to store it? And having just gone through renovation, I feel all of that pain because I watched my renovator go through these project delays due to inefficiencies, delivery and order. Like we still have a fireplace that it's been sitting in my nursery for months, and I'm like, really? So,
I
um,
think I think
yeah,
you know, Lean Six Sigma methodologies
yeah,
were all the rage uh, for many years, and a lot of people in the B2B world hold those. And I don't think people have quite yet thought about how do we integrate our inventory and order management platforms into our Lean Six Sigma methods and processes. Just in time is not something new to 2025. I was learning about just in time delivery and in the B2B world or in college, right? So making sure that you are capable of doing that and having your order management system put the inventory out there to get picked up, work with your transportation partner, are all things that a modern OMS can do. And we're only talking about the ordering process, the
right.
returns process. What happens, a lot of times, B2B world, you'll over order. What if you used 80% of what you thought you had because you purposely over ordered to make sure of any mistakes? Now you want to return it. And order management systems can help manage the return process. They can integrate with the payment gateway to help with refund management. So the legacy thought of OMS being only a retail solution is dated, and the platforms like Kibo have addressed most of these concerns for retailer and now looking for ways to really take these and help solve the scale problem for B2B.
That's fascinating. And to your point, like if ERP can only be as fast as ERP, and sometimes they don't have the real time aspect to it that's necessary for you mentioned order, inventory. They may have slow batch processes. And it's interesting because there's like the buy side, which is like the the e-commerce side where you go through negotiations and approvals, etc., which has its own complexity. But then there's the like OMS, which I would say is more demand side, right? Because if you think about it, once a customer is a customer, like once a B2B customer signs an agreement to procure from a certain supplier, they're not gonna buy randomly. Like if you think about me and I go on Amazon and I'll buy different things every week or whatever, the vast majority of a B2B cycle, like you in your shingles use case, is a regular replenishment, right? So
Yes.
it's like a regular purchasing cycle that needs to be tied to because you know how many customers you have, you know how much they buy, you know how frequently they buy, and there may be fluctuations, but you need to be able to use that information and get ahead of your inventory so you don't get that situation where you only have 5,000 in stock.
And in the retail world or direct to consumer world, they call that subscription services, right?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
But in the
Yeah.
B2B world, it's replenishment. So, if you're in a grocery store which is buying milk, they know that they're probably going to need X number of crates of milk on a daily basis, and the order management system can help that milk provider with that replenishment cycle to make sure that it's delivered on time, and the customer can save time. right? Because they don't have to
Yeah.
manually go in there every single time with
Yeah.
an EDI order for large for large milk dairy providers
Right.
and large grocers. But last time I checked, large grocers and uh, large dairy farmers weren't using, or they were the only ones using EDI, but they weren't accounting for 100% of all orders. Mom and
Right.
pops that are in bodegas in New York City or owning the local, smaller grocery store in Toronto are still doing ordering ideally from an e-commerce platform and solution that's in place.
Yeah, because they have different needs. They're not, they may have because they're a smaller volume, they may have larger variety of the goods that they're purchasing by definition. Um, Now auto replenishment is so much bigger, and you mentioned EDI. Can you define EDI for the audience real quick?
Geez, I forgot what the electronic data interchange. Put
Yes.
me on the
Oh, sorry. I
spot.
didn't mean to put you on the spot. It's funny because I was just Googling that today. So I was like, you're reading my mind. No, thank you. But you know what I'm learning, so because I'm here on my journey at Kibo as well, is that EDI is really useful for drop shipping, but it's a file transfer. And so it can be useful in all kinds of document use cases, document exchange use cases. And we know B2B is rife with documentation, POs and invoices that are maybe originating from other systems, not from your OMS, right? So there seems to be a broader use case for EDI, which is in my opinion, very exciting because it's on a roadmap.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so
It,
let's talk about Kibo then a little bit. Tell me why you like Kibo so much, except that we get to work together.
you know, the news that's been announced this year, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep it relevant to this year, is very
Yeah,
exciting, right? And as far as I can tell, you guys are first to launch agents into this OMS e-commerce subscription management space,
yeah.
and uh, first mover advantage is often key, especially in the technology space. But it can also be a little scary sometimes because you're making bets on something that may or may not work out. Um, and the good thing about Kibo is you're agile, like we try to get many of our customers to be, right? So if you find out that one of the agents isn't executing or hitting the message the way you thought it might, we can adjust it, we can change it, we can modernize it. Uh, I hate to use the word future proof, but Ram and team at the leadership level are really trying to make sure that they are on the leading edge of what our commerce partners or clients need.
Thank you. That was completely unprompted list of compliments, but thank you for that. No, I mean yes, and also with the demand side forecasting being able to bring in and say like, hey, this is how much your customer is probably going to order this year, being able to create auto replenishment, suggested orders, etc. So all those things are pretty valuable, and I'm obviously very excited about the agentic revolution that's happening right now, especially being able to have the agents be API driven and be sort of free from the platform, which is exciting. So we obviously there's a lot of opportunity for B2B to leverage and people in B2B to be able to use some of these new solutions. Um, so you mentioned a little bit about you know tariffs uncertainty and how that's driving changing making decisions in terms of who your suppliers are and sort of causes uncertainty and fluctuations in business. um, Moving forward, people are probably going to be focusing more on saving money as a result. Tell me more about what you expect to see in B2B.
Philosophically, it's interesting that you say people are going to be thinking about saving money. I feel like every conversation people are talking about saving money and driving
Yeah,
ROI.
that's right.
Um, Tariffs, I think, is a very big if, um, and helping keep people stay focused on the current shiny topic because it can be so dangerous, right?
Hmm.
Um, but the other side of that coin is they're still looking at where or how can we be saving money and driving ROI.
Right.
AI is the cutting edge of that. Um, my personal belief, not necessarily the belief of the industry or even grid dynamics, is that AI will change how we do work. I am not in the camp of leaders in the Gen AI space that think it's going to completely replace everybody, replace work. Um, I think humans are creative and we find ways to use the tools that are given to us to help us become more efficient. That efficiency drives potentially reduced costs, or if not reduced costs, maybe the same cost but higher yield, and therefore increased revenue for the same investment.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. People are thinking of AI as not like it's a I have to do it now because I have to do it because that's the way that I will get to the savings. And of course, we've been having the narrative being really around TCO for a few years now. That seems to only be intensifying. I don't think it's going to go back. We were really focused on growth and innovation. Now we're really focused on TCO and
Yes.
operational efficiency. Those seem to be the new buzzwords. And sounds like, I mean, you gotta be doing AI because if you're not doing AI, your competitors are, right? And there's a lot of opportunity B2B within some of the use cases that you mentioned for reducing costs because you're not wasting orders or returns. You're not, burning clients, and you're able to have that visibility into what's happening with your orders and your inventory. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
you have an agent that's able to look into the TMS and the OMS and be able to not ask the customer, "What's your order number?" Well,
yeah,
I'm logged into my account. You should, when I type in "Where is my T-shirt?" or
yeah.
where is my shipment?" You should the agent should logically be able to understand. I'm most likely talking about the last order shipment.
Yeah.
If not, search how many orders are out there, which one was supposed to be delivered when I'm asking, it's past due, and provide that answer. But then extend that and say, did I answer your question? Would you like to know about the other orders too?
Hmm.
Um, and, you know, to me, the question isn't how is this adding value? It's really a data conversation. Like, where should this tool live itself, right? And this is going down a different rabbit hole. But what's so interesting about MCP and agent to
Hmm.
agent communication,
Yeah.
because you might just own the agent to look at orders, but you're going to call the agent to look at the TMS system and say, oh, their truck got a flat tire, so it's 6 hours behind schedule. It was supposed to be there at 9 a.m., but it'll be there at 9 p.m. or whatever that scenario works out and plays out as.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because you might have, and, obviously this is all within sort of we released this year the shopper agent. We're about to release a few more agents. By the time this airs, we'll probably release the bulk of them. But you're right. It's not just one agent. One agent to rule. It's not like we're like doctoring a master agent and adding on functionality because that gets really complicated. You've got these specialized agents that are doing specific things that are experts in their functions, and they're all working together. And then, we haven't even crossed over. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, we haven't even talked about personal shopping agents. Like what happens if buyers arm themselves with buying agents, or think about the potential with the procurement channels, right? If you're using a third party to do your procurement, well, what if they have an agent that facilitates with your OMS or commerce agent to make even the transaction or deal happen? So B2B is going to be an interesting place where this could really play out.
That's why I don't think true replacement of people will play out. The roles will shift. We'll be able to
Yeah.
be more creative. The tedious work that a lot of people start their careers out as, maybe that gets shifted to AI. That tediousness, but that could lead to more happy humans and more engaged humans in the workforce because they're doing something that they think is more creative, more valuable to them. They're not just oh, I have to answer this call in 15 seconds and I have to get off the call in 2 minutes. And
Right.
all that tediousness hopefully will go away. Now that that person can really say, oh, I have this great idea that can help deliver revenue for this my company. Or if people are able to do more with less, maybe that means we have more brands to choose from. And I can get into hyper personalizing my brand. So, marketing 101 says you don't need to make everybody happy all the time. To make $1 million, you just have to make a product that a million people, or that you have to sell a million times for $1 profit. And if you and I are able to do that with a two-person company and we can make a million people happy, I think we've done a pretty good job in providing a good livelihood to our families.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the people that say that off, there's like two sort of schools of thought for me. I think that there's been a lot of like technology is on this kind of thinking that technology is an unstoppable force. If something like happens to us. Meanwhile, we as practitioners know that nothing happens without us pushing the change management and making the technology and getting the customers to adopt it. And so, meaning that we can define how it's used, we can define what we do with it. And then the other misnomer or misunderstanding about the space that we're in, are, if we're going to be our e-commerce zoologists, to get back to your original idea, is there's so much to do in e-commerce that we're not even tackling today. Like, think about, one of the things that frequently comes up is product descriptions. What is the relationship between colors? What is the relationship between attributes? If you get into industrial manufacturing, fitment, accessories, compatibility. And right now, this is all generated somewhere by someone, like a human. And there's just so much grunt work in this space that we're particularly in, that could be optimized. And I think that the future is probably a group of generalists that can do more with AI, but it doesn't mean that. I don't think any boss ever was like, "Oh, you're done early. You can go home." I don't think that's the response they're gonna
Yeah,
have. They're gonna be like, "Oh, you can do this. That means you can do more."
precisely, precisely.
Yeah.
And once we fill up our day with work, we're always been complaining, oh, I don't have enough time to do this, right?
Yes.
Every day ends with
Yes.
how do I naturally find my day to cut off so that I
Right.
can move from my kitchen table to the couch to go play with my son, or whatever, however that works out, right? And
Yeah.
if you allow work to fulfill your day, it will consume your day.
Yeah.
And I don't
No,
and
that's
I, I don't think that's going to change.
yeah. Well, if that's one cynical thought we can have, it's that we'll never have enough hours in the day. Okay.
We had a discussion internally on Friday about things, right? And if the core of what business is asking questions and solving questions, and
Yeah.
providing answers, right? We in the SI space help people understand, why do you want to do that? What do you want to accomplish? How are you going to do it? The most important question, which I think is often the one that's most of the times forget, is, should we do this? And I actually think AI will help us get and elevate the status of the should question. Should
Yeah.
we do this? Because the speed of can we do this, and that it will accelerate. The
Yeah.
how will be accomplished relatively easily now, because the AI platforms will start doing the engineering of the code for the how. So as the human, I better know why I'm doing it,
Yeah.
and answering, should I do it?
I mean, that you're touching on like a whole element of business insights and dashboards and analytics that we haven't even solved for, right?
No.
Like,
Yeah.
why are my sales down this quarter? Why are they up last quarter? Did this promotion actually work? What's the ROI? Like, there's so many questions that we haven't even begun to answer. Like, some people have maybe figured it out, but only like the top tier echelon of highly organized, well funded, and exceedingly staffed organizations. So,
And
um,
we're starting to see some of those, for lack of a better word. I don't know if they're actually agents in terms of if we sat down with a technologist here,
yeah,
but we're starting to see some of the partners in the space come up with these agents that a promotions company, you can go into their AI tool and ask it, what promotions should I do if I want to raise sales by
Right.
$5,000 with a margin of 35%? And now that promotions partner of yours can tell people you can consider this. And that goes back to, you're now answering, should I do this? Okay,
Right.
I got the answer to how to do it and what. Should I do it? And what are the risks associated with doing it?
But I think, and I want to close this podcast, but then I also want to talk to you more about this, and so I don't know which way to go right now. But um, I have like the last question teed up, but then you keep bringing up interesting points. Stop it, Jayme. Stop it. So
I'm always available next quarter.
that's true. I'll get you on for a repeat. But even like the whole personalization space, like what you just mentioned, there's so many companies out there that have invested in pane of glass or engagement layer personalization, like showing you on the website the right product recommendations. Now, if we're thinking about increasing agentic interactions, it's not about so much as optimizing what the customer is looking at to give them the right product. It's about making sure that the right product finds the right customer. And so there's different work now, and it almost feels like there's going to be an existential crisis in the personalization space. That's just what I'm predicting. Prediction made this year, 2025.
I fundamentally believe in building our go to market strategy around personalization.
Hmm.
Hyper personalization, personally, I think has been horrible as it's
Yeah.
been rolled out, because it doesn't understand the intent of the customer or
Right.
what have you. You know, personalization was great when it was first launched on a lot of the streaming apps, and now that we're multi years into these streaming apps, we're all frustrated because they don't have a random button. And
Yes.
why do we want a random button? Because we
Yes.
think we've seen all the things that you're recommending me that I should watch again.
This is like a big fight I have with my friends because I had a friend whom I lived with for a while, and I kept using her Netflix account because I just wanted to discover new shows. And
You've
literally one
ruined
day
her algorithm.
she was like, get off. Okay, like forget out. I can't use my Netflix account. And it was like a schism. I was like, but what? Why? I like your shows.
But yeah, you mentioned wanting to wrap up the podcast, and I wanted to circle back on something just in case the listener or viewer um, doesn't understand how we started with order management and
Yeah.
went through inventory, and now we kind of went back to commerce again,
It was
right?
pretty random. So,
But
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 yeah,
but it's not, because Kibo has historically been known as an order management platform.
yeah,
And we talked
that's
about
true.
subscriptions because you handle
Yeah.
subscriptions, and people may not realize that you have subscription capability, and you also have the ability to handle e-commerce end to end. And I won't name your customer, but there's a very large brand name that most people know that runs 100% of their e-commerce, OMS, and everything through Kibo. And that's one thing that that listeners should understand is, it's a suited solution built on microservices that's cloud native and headless. And suited solutions are right for many organizations. It doesn't have to be a Frankenstack, which has been branded as using best in class solutions. Oftentimes, best in class solutions built as a Frankenstack don't work as intended.
It's one of the things that, like, obviously one of the reasons I came to Kibo is I really like the tech, and I'm the type of person that I have to believe in the product that I'm selling, so to speak. And one of the things one of the other aspects of the culture was the emphasis on trust and transparency. And there's almost like an old school mentality with clients, like, which I really adore, which I don't think is done enough. It's very personal, very high touch, with our team and our executives. And customers talk about that. They talk about how a lot of customer support has been kind of outsourced in some bigger vendors, which it hasn't here. And to your point, yes, we have the full stack. I mean, people may not know that because they may know us as mostly primarily OMS. We have like a full headless commerce stack, but it's also that option of, hey, if you really want to do a Frankenstein, you can, and we will support you. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to tell, like, the customers know their business, and we want to make sure that we give them choice. And if they want to do best of breed modularity, if they just want our inventory, real-time inventory service, they can have it. And that there's not a lot of, there's like a lot of emphasis on walled gardens right now, and a lot of emphasis on big integrated stacks that don't work with each other. And I don't, to your point, like I don't think that's the future. The future is distributed. It's agents working across platforms. It's MCP. And if you really want to your point, be future proof and be ready for that, think about the modularity of your system. Like one of the facts that, sorry, you got me on this. This is your fault. You got me on this soapbox. But like one of the facts that our chief product officer Sachin talks about frequently is we have more functionality revealed through APIs than the UI. I was like, what? So you can do more with APIs. At first, I was like, wait a minute. But then that really lends itself well to this future where you may not be using a website. You may be publishing in marketplaces. You may be through social, through TikTok, through headless, through mobile apps, through literally anywhere else except for a website. You're going to need those APIs. And I think it's something that people don't think about when they're selecting. Anyway, do you have anything else to say? Because I'm done.
I do have an existential debate with a buddy of mine in the ERP space who continues to tell me that EDIs are the future, and I keep telling him APIs are the future.
Ooh.
And but to close this out,
Yeah.
when we come back next time,
Okay. You know what? Our next convo is EDIs versus APIs. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, whoever, when we kick it off next time, we got to have an opening song, because it just popped into my head while you're talking about MCP. And we're going to rewrite YMCA.
Oh, no. Actually,
with
I think
lyrics.
we're allowed to do that. No, we're allowed to do that because, from a copyright perspective, if your song is a parody.
Yes, it'll be a parody, just like Weird Al.
That's right.
And it'll be YMCP.
Oh.
And now everybody has that song stuck in their head as a chorus, and they'll be wondering, what did the lyrics come out to be?
Well, I think that's the ultimate dad joke, so thank you for that.
You want to know?
You heard it here, folks. YMCP.
You know what my kids call me?
No.
Joking.
Wait.
Joe.
I don't get it.
Joe King.
Because that's your name, Joe?
No, my name's Jayme.
But I don't get it.
They always ask me, are you joking? And I say, yes, I am Joe King.
Oh, you're the Joe King. Okay. I can be really slow sometimes, so thank you for your patience. I'm very bad with puns, so thank you. And now the audience gets it too.
At your expense, you gave me a laugh.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, last question. What was the last thing you bought online?
Oh, geez. I think the headphones I'm wearing or the microphone that I'm using right here. So I picked them up on Friday and Saturday.
You were prepared. Amazing. Thank you, Jayme, so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And to everyone else, until next time. That concludes another episode of The Commerce Order, powered by Kibo, where we explore the evolving landscape of commerce from cutting-edge AI and digital transformation to strategies for optimizing operations and enhancing the customer journey. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this podcast with your colleagues and friends.
We love hearing from our listeners. If you have a suggestion for a future guest or are interested in being a guest yourself, please reach out to us. To learn more about exciting upcoming Kibo features and announcements, visit our website at kibocommerce.com and follow us on our LinkedIn page by searching for Kibo Commerce. You can also find these links in the podcast notes. Tune in next week for a fresh new episode of The Commerce Order, powered by Kibo.